Advices Radio Network.
Drugs and Stuff is for informational, educational purposes only. Welcome back to Drugs and Stuff with Dave Crosland. I'm Scott McNally. This show is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Guys, you can use our code ADVICES at checkout to let them know that you support the shows. Dave, what's up, man? How you been?
Good mate. Getting back into the swing of things. I'm just waiting for it to snow. Apparently we're going to get hit with 10, 12 inches tonight.
Ooh, wow. We got maybe 4 inches yesterday and 4 or 5 inches the day before. It was perfect skiing snow, but I've never skied in my life, so it doesn't really matter to me. Just meant I had to move it.
I went once as a kid with school. I've never been since.
Okay. Yeah, it was like there was the ski club here at the school I went to, and it was like it cost a little money, and it was like the real cool kids went, but I didn't fit in with that crowd. I like floated on the periphery, all of that. It's just let you know.
You weren't one of the cool kids at school.
No, I'm just gonna let you know, man. I wasn't one of the cool kids. You know, no matter how many pairs of Z Cavaricci pants I bought, that a lot of people probably don't even know what I'm talking about when I say that. There was a popular brand of pants. They were very expensive too, and they had the name. The tag was like right on the crotch. It's right. Z Cavaricci. Bring everybody's attention to the fact that you spent over $100 on very pleated pants that were terrible. Anyway, how was the film screening? We talked last time. You were at the hotel, and you were getting ready to head out the door to go do that thing.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, it was good. It went to a film studio.
Okay.
As in a legit, big set prop type film studio.
Yeah.
We got lost and ended up driving through what I can only describe as a sort of 1200s, 1250s, 1200s, 1300s style village.
Oh, wow.
That had been built as a stage prop at the back of this place.
Oh, okay.
That was a bit odd. But yeah, got there, went upstairs. There was a nice little sort of bar area and some snacks and some drinks. And we were just sort of all gathered there till everybody came. There were about maybe 20 people that had been involved in the film production. Some I'd met previously, some I'd never met before. So like the sort of editors and sound engineers I'd not met before, so met them all afterwards. Mm. Apparently, I've got a good voice.
You do?
For what that means. Apparently. They think I should do voiceover, but anyway. And then we went downstairs into this, and it was brand spanking new. It still had that new car smell.
Yeah.
Viewing studio that apparently is to do color gradation on new films. So state-of-the-art screen, state-of-the-art projectors, and the sound system in there was just out of this world. The screen's 10 meters, so it's a big screen. It only seats about 25 people, does this room.
Okay.
And literally everywhere you look, there is a speaker.
Oh, wow.
So they played this sound demo, and it was about a bird that was just sort of flying around the room.
Really?
And the sound came out of whatever speaker at whatever point the bird was in the room. So your ears literally tracked this thing as if it was moving across the ceiling along the walls. It was phenomenal. And then we watched the film, which was about 9 minutes long. There was a bit of a stand up and introduce yourself bollocks thing. Then we went back upstairs, and then we came back down a bit later on, watched the film again, and then that was the end of the evening. Okay. So the film now goes to an agency, and then goes into the competition circuit for about 12 to 18 months. And then it will go on general release after that.
Nice, man. I'm excited. This is cool, man. I'm glad you got a chance to go over there and see all that too. And you hear things like you said. This guy just reached out to you, and he said you wanted you for the movie, and your first thought was like, yeah, right, okay, whatever. But it actually happened, and you actually got to go out there and see it all come together, man. That had to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the next day I went around Cologne a little bit, did the touristy thing. Cologne's a beautiful city. The cathedral there is something to behold.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was obviously a very good experience. I enjoyed it. So that's it really now. Nothing happens. Just sit back and obviously wait to hear feedback from what happens at the competitions.
Oh, how was now? You had a little trip event planned with the wife when you came back. It was her birthday. How did that go? You got to go eat some various meats and stuff you were talking about.
Yeah, we went up to Edinburgh. Stayed at, I've got to say this place. There's a place called 23 Murrayfield.
Okay.
Stunning bed and breakfast. It's a Victorian house that's been done up and restored in that style, and it is just the epitome of opulence.
No way.
So, like, you go to breakfast, it's candlelit, and it's, big heavy drapes over the tables, and just the food is fantastic. The atmosphere is wonderful. And the couple that own it live on site, and they're really, really welcoming, really, really nice people. So we spent 2 nights there, met with some friends in Edinburgh, had a bit of a wander around Edinburgh, went out for some eats, and that was about it. We actually never got to the chop house.
Oh, no kidding.
We just, to be honest, we'd spent all day wandering around Edinburgh, and we were both just a little bit, just fancy going back to the room and chilling, so that's what we did.
Nice. What's going on over there? Is the dog killing something?
The dogs have come down. Yes, okay. They're having a general snort about. They'll calm down in a minute.
I love that, man. So you have 2 of them, right?
Yes. Oi. They're arguing over something now.
They sound like little monsters.
Do you know the film Jumanji?
I'm familiar with it, but I never saw it.
All right. Well, there's a scene in that film where all the animals are running rampage through the town.
Okay.
And then you see a camera shot, and you see them all pass from left to right across camera shot. And then you hear this shuffling and this huffing, and this fat rhino on its own sort of trundles past just across camera on its own.
Okay. That
is the epitome of these 2 things. Both stupid, both fat, both slow, both lazy, both noisy.
Nice.
And they just shuffle around through things and just sort of snuffle about constantly.
Oh, man. It's great.
Pains in the arses, but I wouldn't get rid either.
I'm pulling this post you made open. You got this from someone else.
Yes.
But what am I looking at here? This thing is pretty long. I started reading it, and it looks like, I feel like it's some things that I could. Going over this, I'm like, you know what? I should think more about these things in my life. Tell me a little bit about what I'm looking at here, Dave.
This popped up on my Facebook feed, and I was very, very much in agreement with what it says, and it's basically life advice. And it's something that I actually felt, when I read it, I thought, you know what? Everybody should read this. And I've even made my kids read it every day.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's so on the money.
Huh.
I mean, there's loads of little sections, and it's about 2 full pages long if you typed it all out.
Yeah, and we don't really have the time to read the whole thing, but give me a sec here, Dave, because I want to read a couple little parts of this to everybody out there. Nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start today and make a new ending. Nothing could be closer to the truth. But before you can begin this process of transformation, you have to stop doing the things that you have been doing that hold you back. And then from there, they give you some ideas on how to get started. Stop spending time with the wrong people. Life is too short to spend time with people who suck the happiness out of you. If someone wants you in their life, they'll make room for you. You shouldn't have to fight for a spot. Isn't that so true, man? You ever catch yourself, or have you ever in your life, maybe let's say a relationship, with a significant other, where you feel like you're the one who's putting in the work, and they're not putting in that much concern or effort. You got to step back at those points and look at that.
Done it with as in friends. Try too hard to be friends with people. And it's born out of low confidence, low self-esteem, feelings of low self-worth.
Yeah.
There's so many little tidbits in here. Stop lying to yourself is another one. And I think I've spoke about this on my own channel quite a bit. To me, the key to completion in yourself is truthfulness.
Yeah.
You know, you can lie to everyone else, and he goes on to say, you know, you can lie to everyone else in the world, but don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
It's
hard.
It's hard. You know, stop trying to be somebody you're not. Stuff like this, which is all again about being truthful to who you are.
Yeah, I feel like you really need to be able to take an honest assessment. And you know what? I feel like I get wrapped up in the emotions of what I'm feeling. It's easy to be driven by those feelings. Like if you know you're trying to be in somebody's life, you're feeling that sense of like you know, I'm not a doctor, but I've been through therapy and you know, I've seen how things can unfold in other people's lives too. But if you're trying to, like, you know, put yourself on them, you're feeling like this sense of need, you know, but it's like it's a strong drive inside of you. But the thing is it's tough to step back then and look at that and see what you're doing. You know what I mean? I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. Make your decisions based off of like using logic versus just reacting out of emotion, you know?
Well, the other thing is make your decisions based on what's best for you, not on what's going to impress those around you.
Oh, yeah.
I think so often we make moves because we're trying to create an image or a persona or an effect on people around us. When really what we want to do, if we want to be fulfilled as individuals and as people, is to do what's right for us.
How about this section? It says, stop putting your own needs on the back burner. The most painful thing is losing yourself in the process of loving someone too much and forgetting that you are special too. Yes, help others, but help yourself too. If there was a moment to follow your passion and to do something that matters to you, that moment is now. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't complete yourself, if you're not fulfilled in yourself, you're always going to be offering a half-assed effort to everybody else anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and now the other thing is and you see this so often in relationships, especially with children involved, where they've dedicated their lives to the family and the children. They get to a point where the kids are starting to get independent, and then suddenly they just get up and fuck off.
Yeah.
Because they get to the point where they resent everything around them because it stopped them being them. Well, no, it didn't. You stopped yourself being you by not allowing yourself to be you. You know, if you've got kids and partners, obviously you've got a commitment to those things, but you've got a commitment to yourself as well.
Yeah. And
if you sacrifice yourself for them, all you'll end up doing is resenting them.
Absolutely. I think that happens too. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it. People in my own life that have gotten that way. Here's one that I feel like I've been a victim of. Stop being scared to make a mistake. Doing something and getting it wrong is at least 10 times more productive than doing nothing. Every success has a trial of failures behind it, and every failure is leading towards success. You end up regretting the things you did not do far more than the things you did. Totally relate to that, man. That's something I feel like it's a huge lesson I've learned in my life. It's really the reason that we're able to do these podcasts now, was because I feel like there would be a time in my life that I could talk myself out of it, think myself out of it, you know?
The whole reason behind the UC projects, I'd rather regret it and have done it than regret not doing it.
Okay.
That one simple thing about that is, you know, I thought long and hard, and it was like, you know what, if I don't do this, I'm going to have that big what if over my head for the rest of my life. Never knew they were going to have such a shaping impact on my life and what I did afterwards. But it's been a shaping impact that I'm happy with. You know, I enjoy where I've been with that journey. So, yeah, there's loads of little tidbits in this. Like you said, not just stop berating yourself for old mistakes.
Yeah.
So others spend too much time living in regret in the past instead of going, we did it, draw a line under it, move forward, tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy, man. Especially, you know what, you get wrapped up in how that made you feel at the time, and then you don't let it go, right? That's what I've seen in my own life.
You get too scared to try it again because that once bitten, twice shy situation.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of things are two-edged as well. You also need to, like he does say, don't keep making the same mistake. Don't keep doing the same thing. Try new things. Things aren't changing, and things won't change unless you change what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop holding grudges. I thought this was a particularly good one. Don't live your life with hate in your heart. You'll end up hurting yourself more than the people that you hate. And that is I see that so many times where people get so embroiled in bitterness because someone's pissed them off or someone's upset them or something, and they carry this torch for this person for so long that it does so much damage to them, and the other person isn't even aware of it. They're not even aware of the fact that this person doesn't like them anymore, or that they harbour this ill feeling towards them, and it just eats up the person from feeling negative all the time.
Yeah. I like this part here. Stop trying to buy happiness. Many of the things we desire are expensive, but the truth is the things that really satisfy you are totally free. Love, laughter, and working on your passions. I'll tell you what, man, looking at addiction, which has been a big element in my life. Basically, the root of addiction, you're looking for something outside of yourself to find happiness. And whether, that be a drug or a relationship or a job or bodybuilding or, I remember when I got clean and I started looking at this, I saw this rug at the store. It was like $300. And I really wanted this rug. I really wanted this rug, Dave. I thought it was so cool. And I just I tied happiness to that.
Yeah.
It was like I felt like, man, if I get this rug, then, it will make me happy. And maybe it would on the surface, and maybe it would for a minute, but eventually, guess what, man? The rug would get dirty just like any other rug. And I would walk on it 1,000 times just like any other rug. And eventually I'd realize that would have been temporary. I never bought the rug, and I'm okay with it today because I didn't really need it,
We do it over when I get to 250 pounds, when I get to 270 pounds, when I've got a 21-inch arm, when I've got a 22-inch arm. And the truth is, though there may be points of happiness in achieving these goals in our lives, they will never be truly fulfilling.
Yeah.
They are part of what makes us potentially, and it's sometimes. I know with going back to the UC project, I did think at one point that there would be some special, almost eureka moment by achieving 400 pounds, and there never was.
I just was thinking that. It's exactly what it reminded me of when you said the way you felt when you stepped on the scale and you were over 400. It didn't change anything, right?
But the journey was very enlightening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I faced a lot of me through that journey. And it was that and a few other things were sort of big turning point. I'd already changed quite a bit when I went into the UC projects, but it was something that I just felt compelled to do, and it's difficult to explain as to why.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a sense of completion in myself by having the journey, but the actual end goal of the journey was very, very, very much an anticlimax. And the worth in it came in other aspects of the journey, not particularly the end goal. But yeah, I think true happiness is always going to come from within, always. Yeah. And I think whenever it comes from something else, the first thing is it's reliant on that thing. So that thing is removed, damaged, changes, whatever it is, then your happiness changes. But also, I think it's doomed to fail if your happiness comes from somewhere or something else.
Oh, for sure.
But if you can find happiness in yourself, you will always have that no matter what's going on around you, rich or poor, single or married. You will always have that once you find that completeness within yourself.
Yeah. What are your dog's names?
The fat one that's currently rolling around on the carpet trying to scratch his arse is Buster.
Buster.
And the other one is Thud.
Buster and Thud. I love it. I was listening to him in the background there. They still sound like gremlins or something.
Yeah, well, Fuddy's definitely short on intellect.
Bulldogs, are they not known to be super smart dogs?
I don't think they're known. They're known to be very human-like, very stubborn, very lazy, very greedy, liking their home comforts.
Yeah.
Buster is grumpy, to say the least.
Yeah.
And Fuddy's just stupid. There's no other way of putting it. He is just stupid.
I don't think my dog Betsy. She's American Bulldog Pit Bull mix. So she's got that bulldog in her. I love her and she means well, but I don't think she's the brightest crayon in the.
No, definitely. No, that's definitely. Yeah, Thud's the sort of thing that licks windows and fresh air and that sort of dog.
So listen, what do you think we can do? So I think it's all good advice. Dave, what can we do to get a little more plugged in with this and try to remember this stuff and apply it? Well,
I printed this off. I cut and copied and pasted it all out of Facebook, put it into a Word document, printed it off. And if anyone wants to see the full text, it's on my Facebook page.
Okay.
And I gave a copy to both my eldest kids, and I just said, read this every day.
Yeah.
Quite literally, just read this every day. And I've now got it on my PCs on the screen.
Okay.
Because it's 2 pages, so it's 10 minutes of reading, really, to read it all. And it's just something that I think, if you strive to just sort of run through these things on a regular basis, you won't go far wrong.
Yeah. I like that.
It's some of the best advice I've seen collectively put together in a very long time.
I think what you're saying is it's being mindful of this stuff, keeping it in your thoughts. And I think that helps you raise self-awareness to recognize these things. Because I think all these things we can do the negative, the opposite of what it's telling us to do by not thinking, right? That's what I see it.
Yeah, it's just, and I think the action of just taking a moment a day and consciously going through a thought process of addressing how you approach your day will always be a positive thing to do. And I think it's something we tend not to do because we sort of get up and then we stumble from one demand to another throughout the day.
Sure.
Whatever it may be it our bosses, be it our work, be it our family, our kids, our wives, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, or even our goals. And we just stumble through the demands that we've placed upon ourselves without ever sitting there and going, why, how, or what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And I think, there may even be people who actually stopped and questioned why they trained or why they competed or why they did this or why they did that. They might actually come up with some very uncomfortable answers.
Yeah.
And some answers that they may really not want to have to face. Because no one likes to think I've wasted any period of time. But I don't think even if you pursued the wrong thing for 10 years, I don't think it's a waste of time, because if you realize that and learn, then it's been productive.
Yeah. It'd be nice to figure it out a little sooner, but hey, you can always turn it around. I like that.
I mean, I didn't start to really sort of find myself till I was 40.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate to everything you're saying, man, and I'm sure everybody else at home can too. I'm glad we could throw this in here. This is good stuff.
It's a bit offbeat for a bodybuilding training drug sort of channel, but I do think it's relevant.
I agree totally, and it's in line with a lot of the Dear Davy advice that we give out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you say we run to a break, come back? We've got a load of questions that we had collected last week. Plus, I think there's some stuff over at the Advices Forum. Buster says yes. Let's do that. Hey guys, why are you using sports nutrition that was designed for someone else? At TrueNutrition.com, they offer the world's largest selection of quality protein powders, and they let you design your own custom blend from a variety of powders, flavors, boosts, and packaging options, like the Team Skip blend, for instance. That's over 20 billion possible combinations to create a protein powder tailored to your diet, your goals, your tastes, and your budget. TrueNutrition.com also offers the ability to create delicious custom oatmeal blends, and they're third-party tested, proving that all their supplements are ensured to have the highest level of quality and value. Don't be a sucker and pay for fancy packaging and gimmicks. Discover the source that bodybuilders trust and stop using mass-produced nutrition that wasn't designed for you. TrueNutrition.com, and use our code ADVICES at checkout to let them know that you support the shows. Hey guys, I wanted to take this break to say thanks to Dave for everything he's doing here at Advices Radio, and thanks to Dave for everything he's doing for bodybuilding as a whole. You guys can check out more of his stuff. Go visit his website. It's croslands.org.uk. That's croslands.org.uk. Crosland's Harm Reduction Service specializes in providing concise, informative, and effective drug training to a wide range of professions, as well as advice to individual users. You guys can also check Dave out on his YouTube page, which is in the show notes, and also go to underconstructionthefilm.com to purchase the films today. Use the code ADVICES25 for a discount. All right, guys, and welcome back. Drugs and Stuff with Dave Crosland. I'm Scott McNally, and we are going back to a thread we created the other week, and you guys had loaded us up with questions. If you have questions for Dave, please reach out. Go over to forum.advicesradio.com. In the bodybuilding section, there are stickies for all the threads. You can post in the Drugs and Stuff thread, and we will get to it. So this is from Luisito. It says, how to decide when to up the dosage or add a new compound on a blast. It's kind of a big open-ended question, but let me give you something a little more tangible, Dave. We got a guy who's done a handful of cycles. He's running, 500 tests, and he's done that for, we'll say, 4 or 5 times now. And now he's looking to do his next cycle. What would be some of the things he should look at to decide, hey, why don't I just do the 500 test again? Or to say, why don't I up this? Why don't I do more?
I think several factors play into here, and one is progression. If you've done 500 tests for your first cycle and you've grown well, and you've done 500 tests for your second cycle and you've grown well, and you've done 500 tests for your third cycle and you've still grown well, then you'd actually ask the question, is there any point in increasing? Because I'm still progressing. But if you're not progressing and you start to stall, then obviously one of the things you can look at, look at diet, look at training, but obviously one thing you can look at is drug intake. Now, if you've gone and increased a good 20, 30 pound over a few years of muscle mass through training and cycles, then there will become a point where, yes, you're going to need more drugs. Mm. Just from the sheer fact that you are bigger.
Yeah.
But there is no real hardened time as to when you up the dose. And obviously increase the dose, you increase toxicity, you increase stress on the body. So it really needs to be looked at from several aspects. It's fine. I've done a couple of cycles. I've made some progression. Don't feel I made the best progression on the last cycle. And you have to be honest. Did you not make progression because something was off with diet or training, or was all that on point? If all that was on point, then right, okay, fair enough. Let's try increase the dose.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on things, though. If you start feeling changes that are on a negative basis, we spoke about this before, where you'll get to a point in a cycle and suddenly you just start to feel a little bit off. and you start to see the weight stagnate or even go down. You start to feel just a little bit under the weather continuously. Good workouts are getting a little bit rare. And 99% of the time, that is because someone's reached such a point with their drug use that they've turned toxic and they need to come off and need some downtime.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's always going to be a little bit of a balancing act and looking at several factors. But the only way to really tell is to track your progress. And unfortunately, I'm guilty of this myself. And you see it in people a lot of the time. We're not always that good at tracking our progress, or at least at tracking our progress honestly. You know, I've gone on cycle, and I've spoke about this often enough as well. I've gone on cycle, I've put 30 pounds on, whoopee. And then the next year I've gone on cycle, I put 30 pounds on. Oh, right, so you put 60 pounds on in 2 years. No, I put 30 pounds. So all you're doing is going over old ground then. So something's not working.
Yeah.
We don't like being honest with ourselves because we attach that as it being negative and being fault finding. But if we don't review things honestly, we will never progress.
Sure.
So there isn't really a set point, you know. And everybody's slightly different. I mean, I know guys that have continued to do well on relatively low cycles with not really ever much of an increase, just more of a change of product. And the one thing that will always have to increase is food. Because if you are progressing and linearly progressing, so you are continually putting solid muscle on and growing and maintaining that muscle and then growing again on your next cycle, then your food will continually have to increase because you are getting bigger, so therefore you will need more calories.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that I think a lot of people actually forget. And they'll come back and they'll do the same calorie bulk that they did the year before, and they'll do the same cut numbers that they did the year before, and then wonder why their stage weight isn't really changing much. If you're putting good solid muscle on year out, then your food will be increasing year on year out.
There you go. Yeah, that only makes logical sense, right?
Yeah, but it's so simple when you say it like that, but it's amazing how many people miss it. You know, the amount of people that I see that fail to track their calories and bring them up linearly with their progression. So going back to the original question, you've got to just look at your progression. And you've got to be honest about the all aspects of that progression, you know, the food, the training, and the drugs, and seriously make a decision on whether the other two areas have been up to par. And then if progression is reducing or stalling, then by all means, up the dose.
So when you say up it, would you then just use more of the same, or would you then consider, how do you decide whether to up the dose or add another compound?
A lot would depend on how you got on with the drug. A lot would depend on what you were trying to achieve. Okay. So the standard start cycle for most people is 500 mg a test. That's pretty much uniformly throughout our world what we say, or first cycle, 400, 500 milligram a test a week, job done.
Yeah.
Now, say someone's run that for 3 cycles and they've now decided that they need to increase the dose. If you don't have issues with estrogen, you're not overly sensitive to estrogen, then there's no reason why you don't just increase the test. But, you know, it's also a sensible point to look at adding a second compound, and you choose that compound based on your own body composition, your own natural tendency towards which way you go, and health and other things. If you're relatively healthy, fine. If you've got other medications going in, or you've got liver sensitivities, then maybe you stay away from orals.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a history of depression or mental health issues, then maybe you steer away from Tren.
Right. Yeah, that would make sense.
Obviously. And there are other drugs that may have side benefits. So, for argument's sake, Anavar increases the conversion of T4 to T3. So, if you were a little bit on the chubby side and thinking, you know what, I probably could do with not actually carrying any more actual mass in the way of just pure weight, I need more of a recomp situation, then you're going to stay away from drugs that are going to put a lot of water weight on you, because you don't want to be carrying an extra 2 stone of excess weight that you don't need to carry, because it's going to be more detrimental to your health.
Yeah.
So it all depends on where you are. But if you're naturally lean, you're probably going to go for a very old school test, Deca and Oxy type setup, because you can handle the water weight. You can handle the excess there if you get it. If you find orals upset your stomach, then you're going to stay away from them. You know, it's all these sort of things you need to look at.
Okay.
But unfortunately, a lot of this you're not going to find out without a little bit of trial and error.
Sure.
And this is where the testing stuff comes in, because if you do regular blood testing, you'll see how your body responds to the various and different drugs at different doses that you use. And so you'll also know when something's off, because you'll know what's normal. So, I mean, by all means, always start with one compound, and then once you've got used to that, you know how your body reacts to that, you can look at adding a second compound. How you go with that compound may depend on your personal circumstances, may depend on finances, may depend on the environment in which you're operating. It may not be practical to carry more injectables, and it might be that you've only really got the option of orals. It might be that you're a fat fuck, and so you're going to look at something that's going to be less estrogen promoting.
Okay.
You know, so it all depends on where you're going as to which drugs you choose. I mean, if you're looking for a baseline, good old-fashioned, solid bulking cycle, I don't think you can go far wrong with testing Deca.
Okay.
If you, but you're not going to know how you react to drugs until you try them.
Which is another good reason to not like just pull the hammer on high doses right away. You know, a lot of guys think like, oh, I need to run a lot to get a pro bodybuilder effect. But if you don't know what's going to happen when you take that, I mean, that's where you could lead to a lot of trouble, right?
The other thing is as well is if you put in 2 or 3 new compounds, you don't know what the fuck's doing what.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where if you've run test and you know you're good with test, and you've run Deca and you know you're good with Deca, so you put them 2 and you think, right, I'm going to try Oxys now, and you have problems, then you can pretty much be safe to say that it's the addition of the Oxys that's caused the problems.
Absolutely.
Now, that could be total drug toxicity that's created an issue, or it could be the Oxys and specifically how they act within your body.
Yeah.
So you pull the Oxys back out, you're fine again. Right, well, we know it's the Oxys. You can drop the Deca, drop the Oxys back in. No, I'm still having problems. Definitely the Oxys, I ain't ever touching them again. That's that drug scrap, gone. We know that's off limits for you as a person.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, but if you start adding 2 or 3 compounds, if you go from test only and then suddenly you're on test, Tren, T3, growth, and fucking Anavar, and you start having issues, it's like, well, where do I look?
Right. I think it's good advice. I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm hopping over to the board here. Lucky 13. He says, I'm only in my late 30s and have been diagnosed with very early stage cataracts, which over the last year have grown a very small amount. Currently, I don't need surgery, but if they continue to grow, it could become a problem. I'm guessing this has been caused by some of the SERMs and AIs that I've used in the past. Can you recommend an estrogen blocker that doesn't affect the eyes, as I can't seem to find one? And also, do you have any idea of why estrogen blockers do affect the eyes?
I actually don't.
I don't either. I'll tell you what I do know. I have heard of Clomid in particular causing issues that can be long term. I got the trails when I used Clomid. In the evening time, I would see light trails from it. You ever get that?
Now, is that affecting the eyes, or is that a blood pressure issue?
It's an eye thing. That's the way I understood it. I haven't read about it for years, but it's something that I know you're supposed to look out for, and then it could become permanent.
I will find out.
We'll do some research here. How does that sound? We'll come back with for Lucky 13 on the next one.
Yep, I'll find out about estrogen and AI's effect. I'm making a note of it now, Midori.
All right, Lucky 13. We will cover this in the future. I'll move on to the next question here. He says, first of all, thank you to all of the Advices squad. You guys are all awesome. I'm currently working my way back through every episode and learning something new every day. That's cool. I was on the boards the other day and I ran across an interesting thought. I pasted the post in here, but to sum it up, the poster stated that instead of running 600 milligrams of Deca as his 19 Nor compound, he would combine 300 Deca, 300 Tren, and consider that one 19 Nor compound. Is there anything to this? I will also post this on the Muscle. He's posting it on all the show threads, I guess.
I'm not sure what the relevance is of. So somebody's running 600 mg of Deca or 300 mg of Deca and 300 mg of Tren. The two aren't even comparable. They're different bloody drugs.
Yeah, 300 milligrams of Tren is not equal to 300 milligrams of Deca. You know what I mean?
No, well, 300 milligrams of Deca is not equal to 300 milligrams of Test and vice versa, or DHB or Boldenon. They're all different drugs.
And to take that further, when somebody says, like, I'm running 2 grams total, that could mean a lot of different things. You know what I mean?
It can. Yeah, I mean, if you're running 2 grams total and it's 1.8 grams of Tren and 200 grams, I mean, this is an exaggeration, obviously,
right,
but 200 grams of Test, that's a big difference to, say, 600 Test, 600 Deca, and 800 mg of Equipoise.
Exactly.
Big difference. Or Primo. Massive, massive difference. So that's like saying I've got a 2-litre engine in a 5-ton truck and I've got a 2-litre engine in a 500-kilo car. The performance is going to be the same. No, it's not. You know.
Yeah.
Just completely different animals. They act in different ways. They've got different binding affinities. They have different androgen ratios, different androgenic ratios. They're just 2 completely different compounds. Yeah, they're from the same family, but then so is Danabol and Turinabol, but they're completely different drugs.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
So there's I don't understand the logic behind that. I mean, on paper, Tren will give you more bang for milligram. But with anything, the bigger the effect, the bigger the cost it's going to cost you, in the sense of the bigger it's going to stress your body, or the greater it's going to stress your body, the higher its toxicity is, and everything else.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking down the road or other questions here, Dave. I don't
understand that question, really. It just seems odd.
Yeah, okay. So, well, he's asking, what do we think about that? I mean, personally, yeah, I'll tell you what too. I mean, if the doses were low enough, here's my issue. I feel like, yeah, I don't like it personally. I mean, I've known people who've run Deca and Tren together, and I don't see the point, really.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're looking at is, you know, a combination of drugs that create a total level of anabolic and a total level of androgen within the body.
Yeah.
So you can put whatever you want together. The bottom line, I mean, regards receptor saturation, forget about it. Don't even worry about it. It's never going to be a particular option, because if you get to that point, you'll just create more anyway. But the issue is managing the side effects and managing the toxicity of that combination of drugs. And the higher something is in its androgenic levels, then the more it's going to stress the body. Okay. But having said that, what I've seemed to have seen over the years is the higher a drug's anabolic level, the more it will stress the body, just in different ways.
How so?
Well, you look at Deca, and it's a great example of this. Deca has a very low androgenic ratio. It's 40 odd, if I remember rightly. and its antibiotic ratio is about 140. So when you look at it to test, it's half as toxic and 1.5 times as good at producing muscle mass.
Okay.
It doesn't quite work like that, but that's a very simplified version.
Yeah.
But Deca is neurotoxic. So even though it's not overly stressful, it's an anti-inflammatory, it supports joint health, it increases bone density, it's a treatment for osteoporosis in women, is Deca. So it has all these positives, but it's not particularly good when it comes to the brain. Test 100 to 100, so fairly evenly matched. It's neuroprotective to a point, but then you have issues because you've got to manage estrogen.
Yeah.
So the Vol got balances, and I've never, Primo, generally regarded as a very mild drug, and that's because it is. But then it's also generally rather mild in its effects on creating muscle mass. And it's bloody expensive.
Yeah.
So any drug that has a good effect or a great effect in producing a result in either muscle mass or even in fat loss, you'll find there will be a price to pay. And if it's not obvious, start looking, because it's going to be hidden there somewhere.
Yeah. I guess here's the thing, too. I guess that, he found this as a post on the boards. He was reading some message boards, and somebody said that they're doing this. And I guess the way I feel like is that I don't want to get my advice from, I don't know who this guy is that was doing this and why he was doing it, but I can tell you what I know has been successful for a lot of high level pro athletes who've taken their physique to the limits. And it's been really simple. And that's the stuff that we keep talking about. Stuff that there's nothing tricky about it. There's no secrets. Nobody on the message boards is going to discover something that wasn't already thought of by a pro, whatever this might be, by the top level guys. They've thought of it all. And the reason that the simple basic stuff, take a testosterone as your base and build from there, that basic stuff is there for a reason. Because it works, and because it works well. You may have anomalies that, say, respond to certain compounds in certain ways, or don't get side effects if they do this particular cycle that would cause side effects for many. But the point is that across the board, these simple meat and potato things, test Deca D-ball for bulking, test Tren Masteron for cutting. These are the things that the majority of people who've done very well have used. And I don't think that you're going to discover something on a message board that one guy tried that might be some sort of secret to unlocking something that you hadn't discovered before. I think that those secrets are going to be in figuring out what your body needs for nutrition and for training, and then pushing those buttons as many times and as hard as you can, in basically being obsessive with your life for a long period of time, and then you'll reach your goals. I don't know.
No, I agree. Keep it simple. The more complex you make it, the harder it is to manage.
Yeah, there you go too.
And this is across the board. People overcomplicate diets. People overcomplicate training. People overcomplicate drug cycles, particularly drug cycles and diets. And it's not necessary. It really isn't. Just keep it simple. And, it's quite, every now and again you'll see a video pop up on social media or something, and it'll be some third world country where guys are training using bits of concrete and old wooden sticks and bars made out of God knows whatever. And they have no real knowledge of anything. They keep it simple, but what they do is they do hard. And their diets are very, very basic. Their training is very basic. And yet they develop quite impressive physiques.
Yeah.
And it's like, because we spend so much time in information overload, worrying about the nuances of things that aren't actually that important and have very little real world impact, that we forget to do the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. But do you think this is a form of looking for a shortcut, looking for something, a secret?
I think that one of the big driving factors behind people signing into this stuff is that It can't be that simple, because if it was, I would have achieved it.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they don't want to look at themselves and admit that they train like fannies.
Or you know what? Maybe it's just a matter of they need to put the time in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
they might be doing it right, but if you're only doing it for 6 months or 2 years, you're not going to be there.
Let's also not discount the fact that social media is full of bullshit. People lie, they use angles, they use filters, and I've seen some tremendous freaks online, and then when I've met them, it's like, ooh, you're quite small, really. And that's no disrespect to that individual, but people take advantage of that medium to promote themselves as best they can. It's human nature. We don't want to put a picture up of us looking like a sack of shit.
Sure.
We all pick the best selfie that we post online. We don't pick the worst because it defeats the object. We're trying to self-promote. But people don't like to face basic truths about their own abilities or performances. And so they'll look for overcomplicated solutions to simple problems, because then there's a justification if they fail to achieve it.
Yeah.
It isn't that complex. And you can get to a very decent, don't get me wrong, to the top. Yes, it can become very complex, but for most people and what they're trying to achieve, it is actually quite simple, and it just takes some effort and some time. But we'd rather have this super sciencey, amazing. I mean, do you remember some of the adverts that we've seen over the years for supplements?
Oh, yeah.
Cybergenics.
I was just going to say cybergenics.
What was that training pro? You get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, stand on one leg, listen to the girls or something. It was the most convoluted training program I've ever seen in my life.
Did you try it at the time?
I couldn't. I used to stand. This is how sad I was as a teenager. I used to stand outside the supplement shop, drooling through the window at the Cybergenics pack, which I couldn't afford.
Me too.
And then go buy my desiccated liver tablets, because that's all I could afford.
Yeah, well, we lucked out on that one.
No, God. I believe, actually, that some of the supplements were quite decent that came with that pack, but there was a lot of bollocks with it.
Yeah.
But if you go to someone who spent 3-4 years trying to create their best physiques and say, look, it is actually this simple, they won't believe you.
Yeah.
It's got to be more complex than that. There's got to be more to it. Just do it and see. But they don't believe you. And you cannot replicate hard work with drugs or supplements.
I got a question for you. I don't know if we did this one before, but I don't remember us talking about it. Did we talk about dog crap training?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Have you ever used the dog crap training method? How were the results? If not, do you plan on using dog crap training ever? Why or why not? Eating a dog crap high protein diet. Protein should be eaten at every meal and at a bare minimum of 1.5 grams per pound of body weight, preferably 2 grams.
With regards to protein intake, I do think that it doesn't need to be as high as a lot of people think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people end up growing protein as energy sources because they're too scared to put their carbs up high enough.
Okay.
I see a lot of diets where carbs are actually quite low and protein is quite high. And though it is the basic building block, so obviously it does need to be in there, I generally work on a ratio that's calorie-wise probably looking at about 60-40 split in the favor of carbs.
Okay.
Sometimes even more, depending on how big an individual is. With regards to DC training, I am not super familiar with it. I know the basic principles. I like the stretches.
Yeah.
The stretches are very, very beneficial, and I have worked the stretches in at various times within my training. I've never been a fan of logbook-based training.
What's the reasoning behind that?
I fear it develops poor habits for most people.
that you're just trying to chase the number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that myself.
So as a start of training for a periodization, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, any style of training done hard enough should yield results.
Sure.
And it has some merits in that. I just think that most people struggle to implement DC very, very well because they end up chasing numbers, and ultimately that means form starts to go, rep depth starts to go, tempo starts to increase, just so they can continually beat that logbook, because that's the primary goal: beat the logbook, beat the logbook, beat the logbook. Yeah. Whereas maybe a 4 to 6 week block backed up with some more volume-based, more quality of rep focused work, I could see it being potentially useful. But long-term, for 99% of people, for the vast majority of people that train, they're going to go off track.
Yeah.
There are a few exceptions, and I mean, obviously one that jumps to mind is Jordan Peters. His discipline in his rep form is phenomenal, but he is an anomaly in that, and I don't see many other people that train that maintain that level of quality of rep form when they're pushing their max weights.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that when I discovered DC training, this was, over a decade ago when it was real popular. I wasn't ready for it because I didn't know how to get my central nervous system queued up enough to be able to go to just one or two really brutal sets. And I ended up not getting enough out of the exercise, and then I would end up hurting myself because like I said, I wasn't prepared. So it's something that's maybe, and I I know Dusty Henshaw said, DC's not for everyone. I'd say that I'm more prone to training in a DC style now. I trained back over the weekend. I only did I did 3 exercises, and it was maybe like 5 sets total, somewhere in there. And dumbbell rows, I only did one working set. And if you had asked me to do just one working set a while ago,
is that one working set with a couple of warm-up sets?
Well, there's a lot of warm-ups. It took me 15 minutes of getting to that one working set. I'd start out. I'm up to the 130 pound. That's the highest they have at this gym, and I got 16, 17 reps with that. But I started down at the 50 pound dumbbell, and I did 8, and then I went to the 60, and I did 5, 6 reps.
To me, that's quite a lot of volume.
But wait, you hold on. And then I went to the 60, and I did 5, 6 reps. Then I went to the 75 pound dumbbell, and I did maybe 1 or 2 reps. Went to the 90, did 1 or 2. And I did that. By the time I got up close, maybe I picked up the 105, and I might have done 1 rep. And I'm giving myself time between this, and then I went to my all-out working set. So, the higher I went up, the less I was using. I just wanted to feel the weight and get my body used to pulling heavier and heavier weight, because I couldn't just walk in there and grab that 130 and rip out, reps to failure. I would have failed a lot sooner if I wasn't keyed up, and I would have been more likely to hurt myself. And that's the kind of thing I did do in the past. So, it's...
Yeah, I mean, it's like... I mean, a lot of this came off the back of Dorian as well, didn't it? Well, he only does, one set. And actually, when you looked at him, no, he didn't. He did 4 or 5 sets, building up to that one set. And I think a lot of people struggle to create that level of intensity for one set.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's nothing to be ashamed of on that, because that is difficult to do.
And it takes time. I think it takes a lot of experience training and learning to get there, because the opposite, back in the day when I tried DC and it didn't work for me, I moved more to a mountain dog style training where there are a lot of sets, and you get a chance to really warm the muscle up with a lot of sets before you go into the really heavy stuff. And that way, it was just a different method. But I needed the volume back then to make up for the fact that I couldn't pull with that intensity. And then at this point, once I did that one set of dumbbell rows, Dave, I was done, man. Like I couldn't have gotten more. Like I knew if I did another set, it was only going to be less. That this was the best I could possibly do. And so I hung it up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And I feel like with the way they're looking at the protein and stuff, it's pretty common. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, he says, protein eaten with every meal. Yeah, I think that we all eat protein or should eat protein with every meal, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
And you're probably right, man, that we probably do eat a little bit more. You know what, too? And I'm okay with eating higher protein or having somebody eat higher protein in the off season. But
I'd rather eat too much than not enough.
Exactly.
That's the thing I'll say on that point, yeah.
Yeah. And then if we need to, if calories need to come down and you're at an exorbitant amount of protein, then that's a place that we can pull from too. I'm not afraid to pull the protein down a little bit. I think sometimes, like you were saying, people overeat the protein and undereat the carbs. I think that happens in the off season. Sure. I think it happens in contest prep too. And people aren't getting lean enough because their calories aren't low enough because they end up eating too much protein, in that later stage.
Yeah, I agree.
That's about all we got, man. You got anything over there, Dave?
Nothing at all, my friend.
All right. What do you have planned? I know you're getting back in the groove, getting back from Germany and everything. Any future trips coming up here?
Nothing major. No, just work really. So a couple of road trips around the country, seeing people. This evening I'm going to go have my tea now, and then I've got a couple of diet and cycle plans to do.
Nice. Are there going to be cakes with the tea?
No, they're not. No. Wife's put me on a very strict diet because I'm a fat gay.
All right, man. Well, I'm glad to hear that you had a good time in Germany and that you had a good time celebrating the wife's birthday. And as always, man, thanks for coming on and helping to illuminate some thoughts on this stuff.
My pleasure, my friend, and we'll speak soon.
All right. I'm Scott McNally with the man with the hammer, Dave Crosland. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Advices Radio Network.